Hello and welcome to Get Good. My name is Bruce, and as always, I'm joined by Magnus, and this week, Mr. Andy Wardle. Andy, how are you doing?
Hello, guys. Thanks for having me on. I'm happy to be chatting miniatures for an hour or so.
That's all we can ask for, is like a deep insight. I do want to start, though, on the most controversial question I've ever asked anyone.
Really?
On. Yeah, and I've not warmed you up for this.
Oh, crikey.
What is your favourite Studio Ghibli film?
Oh, come on. Princess Mononoke. It's easy. Then Castle in the Sky, and then Nausicaa. There you go.
Okay, Nausicaa should be number one, but that's okay.
Yeah, I was about to say it from your side. It would be number one.
Hey, at least I put it in the top three. Come on.
Yeah, no, that's entirely fair. So, if you do not know who Andy is, again, I do this every time. Prolific painter, winner of 24 Golden Demons, I think, and 2 Seius Lords, not to mention a raft of other awards, including Best of Painting and Monte Sansovino in 2023. I have that right? There's a nod.
Thanks for mentioning
I'll take
that.
it. Absolutely. One of my
No one
favourite
mentions
pieces.
that one, but it's a good one.
And also one half of Cult of Paint, which if you're not already, get yourself onto Patreon and get yourself to the Cult of Paint Patreon and sign up right now. I think it's one of the few that I've kept maintained throughout my entire painting journey, mainly because of the breadth of what you get, but it's a good community as well. So get yourself there right now. That's my one order, and now we can talk.
I agree. I completely agree. I think it's a compulsory purchase.
That's it, and you get a non-biased take here, which is the main thing. So Andy, I want to dive into this because I think you have a bit of a singular style, and I've heard it kind of described as like a real emphasis on like technical execution in combination with like wearing a lot of influences on your sleeve. How would you describe your painting style, and what kind of led to it being developed?
It's funny because I don't think I'm that like neat and tidy. I always think I'm a bit
interesting.
But I don't know. I don't like stuff to look boring. So I guess I like to, make it have as much impact as I can. My main influences are illustrations. So what gets me excited to paint is seeing normally some fantasy art. I don't play Magic the Gathering, but like as an example, I follow all the Magic the Gathering artists. And if I'm on Instagram, if they post something, like I saw some guy post a demon with like pink flames today, and I was like, that's cool. That's what gets me going. So I guess I like looking at illustrations and fantasy art, and I like to try and make the miniatures look like that. So yeah, I try and do that.
How do you think that works in an IP sense? Because a lot of what you paint is Warhammer, right? Mm-hmm. And you are quite limited in terms of what you can actually do. Of course, you have some room, but yeah, there's definitely an IP thing right there, right?
I guess that that's never affected it how I want stuff to look. So I would look at an illustration of an Ultramarine and I would paint it like the illustration. Yeah. And it's probably fine. But I'm painting Fuegan at the moment, and I'm not worried about what the IP is or whatever. But I like orange, and he's supposed to be orange, so it's fine. So, but like anything specific, like, it has to be this type of orange, nothing like that ever bothers me. So I've never felt restricted by the GW IP in particular. And if I did, then I would just paint something not from them. But I guess that's it. I've never felt that restriction, so it's interesting you mention it. I
guess like looking at more of your recent stuff, and I guess like for me it's the 2 dioramas from the last 2 GDs. That emphasis of like storytelling seems to be like brought to the fore. I'm always like, hey, this is the warm, big-hearted, introspective Andy bringing out like these quite almost like moments of peace and solitude in like this. Like, how has that come to the fore? Because it's really interesting to see develop.
Honestly, being bored of my own stuff is generally how I improve. Really, I think I look at work I've done. I'm like, that's boring. Come on, and then I'm like, oh, shall I do this figure? No, that's really I'm bored of myself. You know what I mean? But it again, it's just from those illustrations and those arts and those feelings, those films, and those are the things that I like to look at and just recreate. I think I like to do stuff that's just not out the box. I'm doing an out the box figure at the moment, and I'm really enjoying that. And I, you can't be really creative all the time because it takes so long to convert and let these ideas work. That just doesn't work. But yeah, just trying to do something different, I think. And the 2 dioramas, it was only supposed to be 1 really, but I started the horse one before the deer, and I realized, I'm not going to get this done in time for Spiel, but I wanted to practice some things, and so I did the deer one very quickly, and so I never expected it to win at the Golden Demon because it was I painted it in 3 weeks, which isn't enough time really to win a Golden Demon, as you know, but it really helped with a lot of things that I did for the follow up, the horse, and I think the horse turned out better because of that. So in a way, I wish I didn't show the deer because I don't know if it took away the impact of the horse scene. But it was really, I did start the horse before, and it was it really was a practice run with that. And I've got a new diorama I'm doing now. I don't know if it's cooler than the horse. I think it's cooler. But I'm going to spend way more time on this one. So I'm just sculpting it right now, and I think I'll probably hopefully get some paint on it in about 2 months' time, something like this. But so I think I'll always do diorama pretty much indefinitely now. So I've got a diorama for Spiel that I'm working on now, and I've properly planned my diorama for Adepticon, and I'm not really bothered about any other projects I'm doing, to be honest. I've got a couple minis, but I'd love to just work on those 2 things. So that's what excites me currently, and I think that always shifts. But I think I'm still progressing all the time in my painting, technique, but also creativity. And I think for a while I didn't have many good ideas, but I've got so many ideas now that I can't get all the projects done. So I definitely, So I feel like something's clicked where I think maybe I feel less restricted, and I think I've built confidence that I can do these things, and lifting that restriction is letting me do things. Whereas before I'd be like, oh, I'd love to do this, but maybe I thought, oh, I can't actually do that. And my sculpting isn't good, but it's got way better. I re-sculpted parts 3 or 4 times on the horse, and I did a bit of hair in June or something like that, and then I re-sculpted it a week before the demon. I cut it off the model, like the model was painted, right? And I thought, this hair's no good, and I sliced it with a knife, and I re-sculpted it. You're not liking that?
No, being 30 days out and I have everything wrapped up, because otherwise I go crazy. It's just, god dang, 7 days out and you're cutting things off and resculpting, and no way, dude, I could not.
Yeah, she was finished. The paint job was finished, and I cut the hair off with a knife and resculpted that. And I was really surprised how much better I was able to sculpt it, because when you're like, I'm getting a little bit better, but it was night and day.
Yeah.
And I couldn't think. I didn't think I've like, oh, I am. I've got better at sculpting, but that went. Oh, I must have, because I did such a bad job before, and I nailed it first time. And normally it takes me a few goes, and I thought, that's the first time I've really seen. Oh, I must be better at the mechanical side of sculpting, right? Like physically being able to get the shapes I want. Because I think that's what always annoys me, is I know exactly what I want it to look like. I'm not capable of doing that with the sculpting tool yet. But yeah, so that was kind of nice. And I think with that confidence building and realizing that you can sculpt something, do it really badly, and you can keep trying indefinitely. You just need the time.
Yeah.
But I don't mind. I've basically got a painting project at the moment, which is Fuegan. And then I've got my sculpting project, and I might sculpt for an hour or 2. and then go to the painting. And for me, as a weak sculptor, chipping away and doing a little bit now and again and keep trying over and over is how I'm doing it. And I think that is what's allowing me to do these more creative pieces. So yeah, I think that's answered the question.
Do you think some of it is also a matter of like being really accomplished? So now you have less of a pressure in terms of like performance or whatever. You can be more playful. You can maybe you're hunting a bit less, and I guess presenting more of you in, or where do you think this kind of shift stems from?
I think what the piece is more important than the accolade it gets, and I think that's for everyone. And I think sometimes people talk about miniatures and the accolades, and it's really nice to get those accolades and those things behind it. But a piece should be looked at, absolutely. It should be looked at how good is the piece, and it doesn't matter what's with it, because we've all seen it where amazing things haven't won, and you should just look at the miniature for what it is. And so I think I'm going, I want to create this piece for these reasons, and it isn't to win, but I will always do it to my best ability, because then I'll be more satisfied, and that will probably result in good results. And I always get annoyed with bits where I feel I could have done them better, and those are the bits that hold me back from doing better. So it's kind of like I'm doing them to be satisfied myself, but that will result in probably doing better at competition as well. So it's not for the purpose. It's not the sole purpose of winning, but I will probably be happier with the piece if I do something better and to a high level or whatever.
Yeah.
Has that felt like a constant battle? Because there's a key question here. Like, you've been doing this a while, and you have maintained performance at the top, and obviously within that is you saying, well, I hit my standards, and therefore when I do, things go well. But that has to require a degree of reinvention. Like, you're obviously, like, the fact that you're even doing sculpting, where some people be like, no, I'm not going to touch that. I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. Like, how have you maintained that at essentially performance at the top? Is it the pressure you put on yourself?
No, it's pure desire to be happy with my own work. And with Fuegan at the moment, I'm doing the orange armor, and I quite enjoy looking at it, and that doesn't happen very often. I think if I'm like, oh, I want to look at that, I'm like, oh my god, I've actually done something I like, and that's kind of rare. Where there's some stuff I've almost felt a bit embarrassed about, like I bring to the show and I'm like, oh, I know there's this dodgy bit, or no one look at it. You know what I mean? It's like taking your t-shirt off at the beach when you've overdone it on the beers or something. You're like, oh, don't want to do that today. Sometimes with my minis. So it's just that drive to be happy with my own work. And I think my favorite thing is going to the shows and sharing it with my peers, my friends. If I impress my friends and myself, then that gives me the biggest satisfaction. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of my friends, I might post my favorite paint job, and they'll just go thumbs up on WhatsApp. So but if they're like, oh, that's pretty good, dude, I'm like, oh, I've absolutely smashed this. Right?
So, yeah, you're chasing anything above a thumbs up these days.
But yeah, I think when you really care about something so much, and gradually my care about the hobby has increased, and I can't remember who it was. I think it's one of your boys on your podcasts. I think it was the Adepticon one. Someone was like, oh, they used to kind of feel a bit embarrassed about what they did, or feeling pride in painting miniatures. But then I was well, actually, no, now it's my profession. I should have pride in it. I really like it. And actually it's not embarrassing to want to be really good at it. And, I don't know when I'll stop and when I'll stop doing it professionally, or maybe I'll do it until I retire, is what I hope. But I want to be proud of the things I do. And, there's miniatures that have won awards that I'm not proud of. So I just want to be proud of the miniatures, no matter what awards attached to it or whatever. I want to, I want to like the pieces so much I don't want to sell them. You know what I mean?
Poor Gary.
Yeah, Verka will be dying. Has that come with a flip side though? Because I think Mags and I were talking before this, like the tutorial vids are always really, I think they're really useful to see how other people, like other pros do it, like get a sense of technique and perspective, etc. But the things that are gold dust to us these days are the videos which are like, here's what I'm thinking, here's my views on X, Y, and Z. And you have a few now on the Court of Patreon where you're like, here's where I had to repaint something 5 times, or here's how I dealt with that. And it seems that obviously when you care about something so much, there's always that danger of you're going to have those bad emotions when things don't perform. Is that something that you've struggled with? Do you think you have a way of dealing with them now, or is it just a constant battle?
I think I've got much better, and I feel the most humble about my own painting in a while. And I think being really honest, you know, when I painted Glutos, I was like, this is good. I think this is a good miniature. And I look at it now and I'm like, it's not great, you know, like it could be way better for all these things. And I know I've got a long way to go, basically, or I feel not at the start, but at the moment, I definitely feel like I'm progressing. And I'm enjoying that. And I just kind of forgotten the question. Content. Oh yeah, the content.
Well, I guess like in terms of like when, I mean, like Glutos is a great example. Obviously, it's one best of painting. There's an outside perspective that I think that people like yourself and people like Magnus and people like others, like, oh, these guys have got it set. They never feel doubt. They never doubt their own abilities to execute. They must feel good about painting all the time. And it seems to me the more conversations like these I have, that's not the case at all. And maybe actually those feelings only get greater.
Yeah, that's helped me. Yeah, I think I know my strengths, but I think I really think about my weaknesses. And that was what I kind of jokingly said about, I look at my stuff and I think it's boring, but it is doing that. And it's like, okay, you've done this bit well, but then I look at the weaknesses and try not to get too miserable about it. And I think, I give advice quite a lot because I teach and all this stuff. And sometimes I have to give myself my own advice. And I think you got to, I finish miniatures, I look at the weaknesses, I don't dwell, and I try and do better on the next one. And that's probably something I would say to other people. So, but there are ebbs and flows, and I definitely get really miserable when painting stuff because I care, and I get miserable because I'm annoyed at myself.
Yeah, that's the thing, right?
Yeah, I'm just like, oh, why can't I do this? Why am I so unorganized? My worst thing is rushing. So I've never put. I can't think of a piece where I've put enough time into it, apart from the green bust I did with the hawk, the coat of paint one. That's one of the only. Oh, and Elrond. Those are probably the only 2 figures I feel I gave them adequate time. Whereas Glutos, the Eldar unit, the horse, they were for sure rushed. And I still think they're cool, but they would have been better if I put a lot more time into them. And that's the biggest thing I need to force myself to do. But I just put a video about it, actually, because I was thinking, why do I rush? Like, I spent 5 weeks on the horse, so I think 4.5. I was thinking, why did I spend 5 weeks on it? You're like, why? And then I looked, I had to physically look at my own Instagram. I was like, what have I been doing the last year? And then I realized, okay, you know, this Golden Demon Adepticon, I finished Adepticon and I had a really nice time and I felt really motivated, and I've come back and I've gone straight into doing Fuegan for Golden Demon. And I was like, I'm doing an entry already early. Why didn't I do that last time? And I realized, you know, I was in an ebb where I didn't feel motivated after the last one. But after the last one, I was getting rid of my old business, and it was horrible, and I was just not in a great place, so I couldn't be bothered to do stuff for Golden Demon. And then the year went by, and I did some YouTube videos, and I did the Kickstarter, and I ran out of time. So It just happens.
Yeah, just a few things, just little things.
But now I feel...
but it's a curious thing, right? Because I talked about specifically this just yesterday with someone where it's like, well, but when you come out of an event, two things can happen. One is you're really motivated and you sit down and you just paint right away. You have ideas and you have desire and you have energy and all of that. Or you can kind of be, well, I wrapped things up. I did whatever I did. Sometimes you did good or sometimes you didn't. And now you're not really like straight into anything. And it can take a while before you get there. Kind of like because I feel strongly that you need to enjoy the painting to keep on doing it. Like it's really hard to push something to a level that you're satisfied with for an eventual competition if you're not enjoying it at all, and you might not when you get out of competition. So it's a curious thing that you say right now. Well, last year I was not in a good space, so I just flopped around a bit and did this and did that. And this time I was really motivated, so straight into painting something exciting. And now you can see that the thing you're creating right now is also something you're looking at and feeling great about, right? Because of the motivation and everything is on a high, right?
Yeah, I think that it's like my motivation has kicked in previously when it's immediate. It's like, oh, Golden Demons in 6 weeks. Now I want to do it. But what I'm trying to tell myself now is, even though I'm like, oh, it's ages away, I don't care. Is like, you will care. And I have to I don't physically have a note written on the wall, but I'm kind of telling myself, when the time comes around, you will want an entry and you will want to be proud of it. So do it now, you dumbass.
Yeah.
But it's that simple, right? So, but I mocked up an idea. I've had the idea for about 2 or 3 years actually, and it's evolved a lot. But now I've cemented the idea. I'm working on it. And it's, I think I need 3 or 4 months to paint it and 1 month to sculpt it. So I'm on track. I just need to keep going. And that's infinitely better than anything I've done in the last 10 years or whatever, in terms of time. So I just need to do that. I need to really, really think about the ideas, let them percolate, and just stick to them, really. But I feel pretty solid on the ideas I'm going to do, and also being realistic. So I'd like to bring 2 miniatures to Spiel. And the other day I was thinking, I can do 3. And I was like, come on, man, you can't.
Yeah.
You can't do 3. And also, what's the point in 3? Like, really, I'm doing Fuegan because I'm the biggest Eldar fan, and I'll probably do 1 Phoenix Lord a year. So this year it's him. And so I'm doing that because they're cool. But then I'm doing my little diorama, and that's it. That's all it needs to be. And I'm sure I'll have to do some videos for like quicker stuff, depending on new releases. Like, they just showed the Space Wolf, so maybe I'll have to do a Space Wolf. I don't know. Yeah. But yeah, I'm trying to think longer term to make sure I'm not annoyed. So,
I get not annoyed, but I guess also like combating expectation. I do think this is like a trickier thing for some of the more known faces out there. Is like, okay, it's expected that you have a piece at Golden Demon, and you're almost you're not allowed to have life get in the way. You're not allowed to have, you closing an old business, and it's a huge stress, and it's probably like wrapped up in personal feelings and all things like that. And
don't feel sorry for me, mate. I've got it easy. Don't feel sorry.
Oh, okay, fine. Right.
I've got loads.
Fucking chop.
I've got loads of time. But actually, I spoke to Neil recently, Neil Hollis, because he took a bit of time off to chill or whatever, and he was like, man, when you have more time, you don't paint more. And I was like, yeah.
No.
Like you can't. I've been painting on some weekends, and people, that's mad, you're full time. I'm like, yeah, but if I do 2 hours when nothing's happening, like, get up, chill out, do 2 hours, 9 to 11, then do your weekend on a Saturday, that 2 hours would be really excellent painting. Mm-hmm. Whether some days I might paint for 7 hours, and the first 4 hours are great, and then the 3 hours I am progressing, but it's not that great.
No.
And I need to be organized in my day where I'm full time, where I'm not painting for 10 hours. I mean, when I was doing the horse, I was doing 12 or 14 or whatever, but we don't
to get it done.
don't do that.
No.
But, you know, there's a lot of tasks and jobs and things to do at Cult of Paint. So yeah, it's not painting all day, every day. So I don't paint that many more hours now than when I had a full-time job. But when I had a full-time job, I was staying up late to paint. So I was, I used to start work really early. So like 6:30 a.m. I'd be at work, but that was cool. And I could get home at like 3 some days. And then I could actually probably paint for say 6 hours. And that's probably what I do now. It's just different, but I might do, there's always loads of business stuff to do. Like right now I'm recording a podcast with you guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is super cool. And then also later we're recording a podcast, me and Henry. So, you know, that's however many hours out of the day, not painting, but it's really, really nice. And actually one thing it's cool is you do a chat like this, like chatting to you guys, and I'll probably be, you know, I'll spin to my desk over the other side of the room and I'll be like, cool, I want to paint now. Because you kind of, you have to have little reminders of why you do it sometimes. Because if I do a spell of 3 months straight, no show, no seeing any hobby mates, then I'm like, why do I do this? And that's that motivation thing we just talked about. I had such a good time at Adepticon. You know, me and Neil traveled together, and as soon as we met in the airport, we're just having a laugh, and that's what I enjoy the most. And, you know, even my hobby friends, you know, that paint and stuff, they don't like to talk in the really nerdy depths of like the Golden Demon stuff like we do. And so I love being like, this weekend, I can really just, you know, it's that meme, isn't it, of the guy talking to the girl in the club and she's really bored.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
I feel like that all the time. But then it's like, yes, like I can talk about like the really, really, really boring, nerdy stuff is nice. And then it keeps it flowing, right?
Yeah, and like you'll get that back. You'll say it, and then, oh yeah, good point. I was thinking, and then like it's one of the things when we started Get Good that I don't think we fully anticipated. Well, maybe Mags did. He's smarter than me, but like fully anticipated in terms of helping people is like if you just have a community which talks this stuff all the time, people just get better from being in that community. Because if you're isolated, sitting at your painting desk, never getting to chat to anyone, you lose that inspiration, you lose ideas, you lose so much of what makes this hobby like so enjoyable. And I think the thing that really shocked Mags and I, Mags, you can correct me if I'm just talking out my arse here, but like the thing about Adepticon that made it so different for Spiel is that community aspect was so much more obvious. Just because it's so much chiller around the cabinets, you're meeting people, you're talking, it makes it so much better as an event almost, that Golden Demon, as opposed to Essen, which is nice, but it's bloody hectic and you don't get to have those conversations.
Yeah, I mean, I loved Manchester, which is controversial, but I had such a good time because I got to Manchester, and which is, you know, where Byron from Artist Opus is, and, you know, it's his local. So he was like, go here, good places. And we just went to bars with people I really like that I see once or twice a year. It was the best. So everyone's like, well, Hammerfest was boring. And I was like, I had the best weekend. But I'm in a privileged position where I know people, but I only know people because I've gone to every show. And I mean pretty much every show for 11 years. You know, I used to go with my dad when I was a kid, which now I'm older, I think really appreciate, but he used to take me to Games Day in like 99. And that's major dad points because that must have been well boring because he's not interested in it at all.
Oh, he wasn't into it. He was just
Holy moly.
Come on, son,
No.
I'll show you.
I was like,
What a
Dad, I like
legend.
these miniatures, and there's this day in this weird magazine, and look how cool these people are. They didn't look that. They don't look that cool actually now. So I was really aware of stuff like Golden Demon when I was that age. But I didn't enter until 2014. But I was like followed it, you know. But as soon as I entered, I went to every show I could really since about 2014. And they're always the highlights of the hobby, the year, whatever. But I didn't know anyone at the beginning. And Yeah, a really crazy moment for me, actually. Sorry, I'm going on a tangent here.
We're tangent friendly here. Don't you worry.
Yeah.
So I went to Monte Sansovino in 2015, and I knew no one, and I realized I was sucked at painting. I didn't enter the competition, anything like that. It was like this kind of moment, you know.
Yeah.
And
Holy moly.
I remember Francesco Farabi, who's one of the best people. I love talking to him. He welcomed me, even though, you know, I hadn't painted any miniatures yet. Made me get on my knees and poured a shot of moonshine down me.
Cult, yeah.
Yeah. And I've been to Monty every year since. And last year I judged the category I care about the most, which is, you know, master painting. And that was a kind of a crazy turnaround, you know, 9 years. And this year's my 10th year at Monty. And weirdly, I couldn't get any accommodation. It's all sold outright. But I found one place, which was the first place I stayed at 10 years ago. So for my 10-year anniversary, the only accommodation available was the one I stayed in the first time I went there. So that's kind of weird. But it really, judging at Monty made me really reflect about that kind of journey and whatever. And I think that anyone who's, I don't know, feels like they don't know many people or worried about going to shows, you know, it's hard, but you just got to get yourself there and just chat to people, right? And that's the motivator for me, right? People paint minis if they want to play the game. That's their motivation. For me, it's it's that side of things. So,
well, and it turns out that people are really welcoming in general. Not only Monty, not only like we have had only positive experiences, right? And going and meeting people and talking to them, you definitely got to get a bit out of your shell, I guess. But if you're willing to like reach out, well, there is someone to catch you for sure.
Yeah. Do you know what's he called? New Jersey Eric. Do you know him?
No.
So
it sounds like some ethereal monster, man.
He so basically me and Neil were just at Adepticon, and this gnarly looking dude comes over. He's really tall, shaved head, very handsome, and he's got the deepest voice ever, and he's like, "Hey guys."
Oh, I know him. Yeah, I know him. Yeah.
Hey guys, can I hang with you? And we were like, "Yeah, sure." He just said, "Can I hang out?" We're like, "Yeah, all right." And now we hang out with him all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, I know him. I didn't know
you?
that. Yeah, I didn't know that you guys called him New Jersey Eric.
That's where he's from, New Jersey, right?
Yeah, I didn't know, but yeah.
Yeah,
well, there's always an implication of
he's a good guy.
Hang out with you, we can't say no. So yeah, sure. Come on.
Like, all right, mate. Yeah, sound. You know. And and then that was a couple of years ago, and then the year just gone, we spent loads of time with him. He's a cool dude. Yeah. I think he drove Alfonso around on his tour or whatever recently. So
cool.
But yeah, you know.
Well, I talked to him until 3 a.m. One of the days, Friday to Saturday. So yeah, I know who he is.
I thought, man, I wish my voice sounded like that, and then I wouldn't. Yeah. And then I wouldn't hate doing my voiceovers so much. You know? Feel like a chipmunk when I talk to that guy.
Yeah.
It's like talking to Roman. It's like, this is a deep, booming voice. Like, it's a little bit intimidating.
That's it, right? So, but yeah, that's maybe not everyone who says, "Can I come hang out?" Will, you know, turn out.
yeah. Like, you just have to be giant, shaven head, and we
really couldn't say
voice.
no, but give it a go. But yeah, I guess that I think that Adepticon is the perfect environment to make new friends when you're middle aged.
Yeah,
because it's hard.
It's so hard when you're an adult making friends.
Yeah,
it's. I guess like jumping back on the Andy timeline there, because I think that's interesting. That you said Monty 2015, didn't you? Which is like that's a year after you won a gold demon for a squad. And then you were like, "Oh yeah, I had my eyes open that I couldn't paint."
Yeah.
Well, that squad isn't very good. And your what did you get for your squad, Bruce?
I got notable.
So I'm pretty sure that your squad will be much better than the one I got a gold for, because it's progressed so much, right?
Yeah, because of that scaling progression.
So yeah, like it's what I said earlier. You know, I did win a gold. I'm not saying it was bad for the time. I put every bit of effort I could in it. I think I actually probably spent 6 months on that unit, which is more than I do on my stuff now. But anyway, yeah, it's not that great by today's standards or whatever. So it would never win at Monty or anything like that, because they fit the criteria for Golden Demon. They were a squad. They were coherent. They were Space Marines. But in the context of the broader European figure show, they were boring and quite a low level. So if I maybe at standard level, I could have got something for them, but not in master level at Monty and stuff like that.
That's so interesting, because obviously there wasn't a time gap. I appreciate that, obviously, like comparing 2015 models to today, you're going to see that discrepancy, but it was 2014 to 2015 at Monty, and it seemed like that was a real kick up the arse for you. Yeah,
it just opened my eyes to a broader scene in a very, very good way, and the creativity and stuff. I got to see Kirill stuff in the hand. I got to see I think of his name. There's a Greek guy. I think he won the best of show. What's his name? I think I'll remember it in a minute. It's a long Greek name.
Just scream it out as soon as you say.
Kyriakos Simos.
Wow.
Do you know this guy?
I not personally know, but I know who he is. Yeah,
he's incredible. He doesn't paint much anymore, but at the time I was like really blown away by his work. I don't know if he won best of show that year, but I've been there where he's won a best of show, and he's won a few at Monty and Platinum, Best Fantasy, all these different things. Seeing his stuff in the hand, seeing Kirill's stuff, just all those guys, it was very, very cool. And there's not a strict divide, but there's some people that only like non-Golden Demon shows, and then there's other people that only like Golden Demon.
Yeah.
And I was very much, I like them all from the get-go, really. It's hard to do pieces for both shows. So I've got a piece that I've got sculpted just for Monty. And I'm conflicted if I have time for it this year, or I have to save it for the year after. And there is that. Sometimes I wish that I only liked one, like I only did Golden Demon. It'd be way easier. And it's the same as when I used to do army painting. It used to mess me up because I'd be like, I want to paint this army. And I was like, I want to do Golden Demon. So that being single-minded is always better, right? Like, if you only enter Golden Demon, it's nice. But
it's more effective, but is it really better? Like, would you be a more rounded artist if you were that way? Probably not. So it's like, it depends on what sense of better you want to use, right?
I think you just got to paint the figures you want to do, right? But I think a really nice moment for me was, I got that winning best of painting at Monty with the Games Workshop model was really cool. Because, I went with just my Games Workshop figures and I was like, whatever. And I properly counted myself out of the show. And so when I got my name for that, I wasn't even like barely listening, because I was like, I was actually thinking next year, stop messing around, do some proper painting, you knob. And so that was kind of crazy. But you can do GW minis at these shows, and you can do what you want. So I keep forgetting the original question. I just like going on a.
So it's okay.
We're
way past wild tangents.
Do the show.
And when you go to a show, don't be just, I'll stick in the corner and not talk to anyone. Like, we'll say, just say hello to people.
Have a few shots and
just in the door, right? And then go to talk to people.
Not that I encourage alcoholing.
No. That's for MPO, right? Like Bristol, that's everyone outside just getting tagged.
Exactly.
I do want to get on to the cult paint and MPO stuff, but I think it's a good bridge in between that, because like you have been in the scene a while. I know I've repeated that. I keep making you sound really old. That's mean of me.
No, I like we started calling I think last year, Fletch and Dave came over and smashed it at Golden Demon, but we were like, these are the younglings. Me and Neil were like, the younglings are killing it.
That's as opposed to us ancients. But in that time, like we talked obviously about like yourself staying on top of things, but you will have seen a lot of painters come and go in the scene.
That's right.
And so what do you think has separated those that have remained and stuck around versus those that have kind of had their moment and left?
Well, what separates them? I think that it just depends what you want out of the hobby, right? There's guys that have won a few Slayer swords, they don't paint anymore, feel like they've done it. And then they come back and maybe they're behind and they go, have a bit of realization, that just because you've got Slayer swords, if you haven't kept up, it's kind of crazy. Yeah. And I know you should do it until you don't like it anymore, right? Like I talk to my friends all the time. They're like, I just don't feel like hobby. And it's like, you don't have to do it. Or they've been really drastic and like, I'm putting all my hobby stuff away. It's all going. It's like, you can put it down for 2 years and it's still there. I put the hobby down for 6 years. And I did it 2006 to only about 2008. I just did a little stint when I was 18 to 20. Maybe 18 to 21, and then I got back in that 2014, and I haven't stopped since, obviously. But it's always there. I've had three runs at it, and I probably won't stop now. Just I don't know. Do what you want.
Do you want? There you are.
Don't overthink it. Right? It's like you can, even if you won loads of shows in the past, come back and be casual. I wish I was more chill and just didn't care about entering and stuff, and sometimes I wish that I really liked gaming again, because then I could just paint some gaming figures and roll some dice with the pals. But at the moment I'm not really feeling it. But I think maybe in the future, maybe I'll just do gaming, 10 years time, have a table, get the boys round. It's, I don't know, whatever.
It's like we imagine someone coming along and being like, oh, you were doing this and now you're not, and I'm so disappointed in you. It's like, I don't think anyone really cares. Like, do what brings you joy at the end of the day. Mags, obviously you have to keep painting, like just a point of business order here, like keep
to
doing
live.
that. Yeah.
I will say though, I generally don't give up any hobbies that I've started. So, I've been around friends, and like you said, I've been around people that have come and gone. But I might do things less frequently. So before I was into Warhammer, it was BMX for me, and I feel a bit stupid on the BMX now because I'm so old. But we still have the old timers club, But yeah, anyway, I've done mountain bikes, BMX my whole life, and I never stop that. I don't do it as much anymore, but when I still love it. So I've just never stopped that. So all the big hobbies I've picked up, I've never really quit those. So I just don't think that's in my personality really, to do phases.
We're not going to see a transition to road cycling and Lycra anytime soon.
It's the worst form of cycling. I do have a road. I've got 6 bikes, but I won't bore you with all that.
Just a few.
But I do ride road bikes, but BMX and mountain bikes is the love, but I don't like to give stuff up really, I guess. There's nothing I've given up yet, so I can't see myself, but I understand people getting bored of these different things and trying stuff. I'm just not that into variety, you know what I mean?
I'm
happy in my routine.
I want to be mediocre at these
I'm not
things.
giving
I'm
up
happy.
all of it.
Actually, it takes me ages to get good at anything. I realized that this weekend. I went to a stag do and we did all these activities, right? And they're like, right, we're playing cricket. And I'm like, I've never played cricket. What do I do? And I realized that I am extremely under average at basically everything until I've practiced it. But I can get quite good. So I need to stick at the limited things, Where there's one guy, we did some like clay pigeon shooting and I was average at that, which is fine. But then one guy had never done it before, and he basically hit every single one. And I was like,
I hate these people. I hate these people so much.
Yeah. And people are like that with painting, right? To bring it back to the painting, you just gotta practice. So yeah, I need to stick to my hobbies to escape the mediocrity.
Damn, it's got serious. On that BMX thing, because it is something that's come up in your videos a lot, is you've talked about like the forests near you and getting out in nature and using that as a point of inspiration. I know at the start you mentioned like illustrators and fantasy illustrators. How much do you find inspiration in the real world, because like look at some of your scenic bases recently. I'm like, I can imagine walking in that place. It seems that there's a real through line of actually looking at the world around you in certain areas.
Yeah, honestly, it all for me, it's all goes into one thing, which sounds quite like I'm not very deep or hippie-ish, you know.
Really?
But this kind of thing is just true. Is what happened. I grew up in the countryside, kind of middle of nowhere, about 15 miles from a town, and I spent all my time in the woods. My primary school was in the woods. Like, you know, you didn't really have
Forest school.
Yeah, it was literally a forest. Like you walked out of the classroom, it was lunchtime, you were in the forest, right? And then
how many kids did you lose each year?
I don't know. It wasn't that bad then. Anyway, and then me and my friends used to dig jumps in the woods. And then when I wasn't doing that, I was playing Zelda Ocarina of Time, which is about a kid in the woods, you know. And I spent all my time in those environments, and that's why I enjoy the Princess Mononoke film, because that's about that. But I enjoy that film because I spent all my time in that, so I kind of felt the meaning behind that film. And then, you know, I enjoy those video games because of that. And then I enjoy the illustrations that have the woodland looks. And I like, so it is what I grew up with, and just what I spent all my time doing. But yeah, it's funny how it goes kind of full circle.
Almost full circle.
Because of my hobby of I love being in the woods on my bike. It's just one of the best things. It looks beautiful. It feels amazing riding through the trees. And that's why you see me doing all these weird miniatures, right? And you've probably never seen them, but I've got a wood elf army. I've had a few wood elf armies, but yeah, that's the only reason I like those. So yeah, it's important to me basically, but that's the reason I like that stuff so much, you know.
It's similar, like there is that through line to a lot of like what you can consume, like into like, I know it seems trite, but like stuff like Mononoke and like Wolf Children and like anime like that can give you just vibes. Like I always think of the intro to Spirits Away when they're driving through the forest. I'm like, there is a million scenes here you could pick out from a frame of animation, and like if you can take that and translate it into inspiration, into something like of yourself as well, there is like this is where I get as deep as I get. There is a magic in that. It's something I really love about this hobby, is you see people's inspiration on their sleeve and on the work that they present.
Well, to me, basing, and this is going to get both of you guys. I know my get good lore, but basing to me is one of the most important things of a figure, right?
Bullshit. Shut up.
What
do you know, Andy?
Huh?
Yeah. And I just, when I'm walking in those places, like people think I'm weird, but I'll like poke the moss and I'll go, you know, stroke the trees, look at the rocks. And I love it. But I'm looking at all the leaves on the ground, and I'm like, man, when there's leaves, there really are leaves. So when I'm doing the scenes with the leaves, I'm like, why am I being so, you know, putting one or two leaves? There's always tons. And I love looking at those environments. And I always think, I want my miniatures to really look like this. I'm always trying to elevate those forest bases and whatever. But yeah, not to dig at you guys, but I think basing is one of the best things ever on figures. I love it.
Yeah, but this also bleeds into the whole getting more into diorama, right? Because it lets you be more you. It lets you, like, it's not Fuegan fighting something on a planet that you can't relate to or whatever.
His base would be boring, don't worry.
yeah, but what I'm saying is that you can then go, this is me, this is Andy, this is my inspiration and what I like the look of.
Yeah, exactly.
Much deeper, I guess, with diorama, right?
Yeah, I like you know, Oliver Spaeth, like his basing, you know, like that's super cool. But I don't think you have to do that all the time. Like, Fuegan, base out the box, let's go.
yeah,
that's cool. But I love that side of the hobby, and I think I'll intermittently always try and improve the forest basey thing. So,
I mean. And I think as much as we do the jokey thing about it, there is such joy in improving at something. Like I know you mentioned obviously like the sculpting. Yeah. I find like such joy at the moment in saying, yeah, this base is shit. So what if it was better? What if you actually get out of the comfort zone and try and improve it and learn from it and take inspiration from other people? Like if you're not interested in that, I do sometimes question, like certainly from a competition painting point of view, like if you want to do display stuff, do what makes you happy, absolutely. If performance at comp is important to you, then take joy in these things, because you're only making your work better at the end of the day. And it's so easy to lose sight of that when you're in that, how do I sculpt 20 rocks? How does a tree look in real life? Like, they're important questions.
Well, I only say that because I thought I'd make sure I catch up on my Get Good lore. And a few of the episodes I watch, you guys are mentioning basing. So I'm only saying it because you keep mentioning it, not because I looked at your guys' basing and thought.
Yeah, but it is true, though. Yeah. So
there's a reason we mention it.
I think it takes a long time to get there, right? Like you should focus on the figures, and eventually you might get to a point where you're not satisfied with the basing and stuff like that. So, yeah.
But it's kind of like sculpting, right? Where you kind of have to step on small stones to get to the top, right? Like you said, you're chipping away. You make some base that is a bit better, then you make one that is a bit better. And it's the same with everything. It was the same with painting, right? Where you do to a certain level. Now you're there, and you can recreate kind of that feel or look or whatever, and then you kind of push a bit more. But I think because we had someone from community be really frustrated with the basing thing. And it's only because they kind of forgot that it's the same ladder. Like because you've neglected it, you need to kind of start over.
Can't skip base day.
Or sculpting or whatever it is. It's all the aspects where if you don't practice it, you probably won't be good at it. And when you then practice painting on a model a long time, now you have that at some kind of quality, and you're looking at a shit base, and it's like, why can't I do it to the same quality? Well, you didn't practice it, so you probably can't, right?
I think you always have to think about what do you want the end product to look like, right? That's how I think about, I want this project to look like this. And if the basing is integral to that, then you have to do it. But if you're like, I want the best looking non-metallic on a plain floor, that's cool as well. Do you remember there was a Golden Demon winner where I had no base? Do you remember that one?
No.
It was, I'll send it you guys after, but I'm pretty sure it was a Terminator. I think it was maybe it was a Space Marine converted out of a Terminator or something, but it was on a plinth with no base. I'm sure.
If it exists, I'll cut it in the video here.
Yeah, I'll try and find it. I'm sure it exists, and I'm sure it won. Maybe it didn't win. Anyway, I'll find it.
Turns out it's just a dream you had one day.
That's Magnus's dream.
Yeah. It sounds like a dream I had. I
wouldn't hate that.
No, I almost put Bastion on nothing.
Yeah.
Just a shining golden dude walking on a black plinth.
Yeah. Yeah, you could do that.
I could, but probably shouldn't.
You could do something cool presentation wise, though. Like, I don't know, if it was a dude on fire or some ice dude, and it had a plain plinth, but maybe the footprints were on it or something like that. You can do so many things with presentation, and you don't have to do bases. But if it adds and elevates to it, then it's cool and it's nice. It's just about what you're trying to do, right? And your vision, I think. So,
I bet, like, even in presenting that, the key thing there for me is thought.
Yeah.
You've not just, right, I get this texture paste, I whack it on, I'll dry brush that, I'll shade it, done. It's, no, I'm trying to do this, this, and this, so I can represent it in these ways. There is a thought process that's gone into that. I am going to steal Don't Skip Base Day. It's like, okay, squats and basing, we'll make that Wednesday. That's critical. I like that.
Yeah.
Don't you think that creativity is also something that you kind of learn?
Yes.
In a sense of basing, for example, sculpting, for example, these are super creative things where you are creating something out of nothing. Whereas when you paint on a model, you're not creating something out of nothing. You're basically coloring in. So it is much more creative, and it's something some people are, of course, kind of born with it or has like learned it through their experiences. But you can get it, right? You can become more like expressive and more creative and whatnot. But it's something, well, you need to build it. And I think that is maybe the divider here, is that people that are maybe less creative, like I am a great example, not very visual, not very creative in that sense. I have to build towards it, right? Otherwise, it will never happen.
But that all comes from motivation. That's the deep root. That's the deep root of it. How do you get better at painting? Motivation. because it isn't. It isn't. Well, it's signing up to our Patreon, of course, but
Step one. Step one.
I was going to mess myself
Patreon.
up there and say it's not watching videos. It is. Watch my videos. I'll give you motivation. I'll give you motivational talk. That's the key. But it's being if you're motivated, then you will research, you will try things and mess up. I sit at this computer, not painting, looking at loads of images, going in Photoshop and going, why do I like those colors? And you look at the colors in Photoshop, like actively learning. I always say that in my workshops and classes is I personally feel that very few people will spend time only practicing. Actually, what they're doing is they're finishing miniatures, which you could say is the best way to actually practice. It's just finish stuff, move on, finish, move on. But sometimes, and what I used to do was I didn't understand how to make colors or make things look a certain way. I would only sit at my desk to practice and mix. Like when I didn't understand how to dilute the paints, I put like 6 different dilutions on my palette and looked at what they did. You know, I didn't read a tutorial. I went, well, I don't know. I've heard you have to thin paints. Don't know why, but I've heard that. I remember painting a fire dragon, a bit like I'm doing now, and I just had a pot of whatever the bright orange was called, fire dragon orange. And I was just painting
Fire Dragon Bright.
Yeah. I was just painting it out the lid, you know. And some guy comes over, and he's like, "You need to dilute the paints." And I was like, "Why?"
They sell it like this. It's ready to go.
I'm like, looks great. Look how bright my orange is. But I think like sitting and actively practicing, right, is something you don't often get to do. But that comes from motivation. If you really want to get better, then you'll put the time in to do these little things. And like you said, you know, you might feel like you're not naturally creative, or that your basing's not as good, but you're really motivated because you can see that in your painted miniatures, and you've pushed really hard on your painted minis, and now you know you work on the basing, and it goes in ladders like that. And it's just like you asked me, like, you're enjoying those dioramas, but I was just painting Space Marines not long ago with no creativity at all, but through motivation and growing, you get there, right? So it's just what you want to do, and if you want to do it really bad, then you'll do it well.
I think that's a good point then to transition to how your world has expanded in this hobby, because there's obviously Andy the painter, but then there's Andy part of Cult of Paint. With Cult of Paint, you've got...
Bad businessman.
Andy the bad businessman. You've got Dioramas, so you have like miniature ranges. You've obviously, I think I'm asked weekly when do I think the Cult of Paint is coming out. Like you have those aspects of your...
It's all behind this chair, the whole range.
Right. Get to Andy's house and steal his goddamn paints. How have you found that transition? I guess it's a multi-layered question, because you're now this is your job now, and also you're having to dip into these other aspects of the hobby that perhaps you've never had any say in, and suddenly you're asking deeper questions about, hey, what do I want in a paint? What do I want in a miniature that I'm putting together? That must change your perspective on the hobby.
Yeah, it's I hope Henry doesn't watch this. But
I hope he does.
So my mantra will always, well, it might change, but my mantra is I just want to paint the best minis I can, and actually everything comes second to that. So I could probably earn a lot more money. Probably not a lot. I could probably earn a small percentage more if I was better at the business side of Cult of Paint. So just one example, I could do more reels on Instagram to advertise. And do you know what? I can't be bothered because it takes away from the painting. And I'll do it because Henry needs to earn some money as well, so I can't let him down. But yeah, I did get into the reels. I hated it at first, but actually I learned to kind of enjoy the editing and picking a song, all that BS. But I like the painting of the minis, and all I want to do is paint the best minis I can. And then from there, you know, I film the videos around that process, and that is what, you know, generates the money for the business. But then things like the miniature range, you know, I'm doing that selfishly because I want the miniatures. I'm not doing that because I'm going to make the big bucks, because selling miniatures that aren't Warhammer doesn't make you big bucks.
No.
But, you know, I just did that bust from our own range, and that's probably one of my favorite paint jobs. I'm looking forward to showing you guys that at the MPO because I think it's nice in the hand. And that side of it is because I wanted to do it. And so I guess that in a really nice and non-cheesy way, it's all about the helping people, the community, the actual creation of the stuff before the business. So the MPO is because I love shows. It's not so I can buy a Ferrari or something, because I don't know if we'll ever take money from the MPO, but the joy it got me was amazing. When I do workshops as well, obviously you earn really good money from workshops. It's really nice. It's kind of I always think, man, it's amazing I get to do this as a job when I do a workshop, but I always work my ass off to be as helpful as I can and try and spend every minute I can with each person and go, have you got this? Like, have you got what I'm talking about? Are you happy? Have you got better? Whatever. So yeah, I think it's a really nice business because you can prioritize that stuff. And yeah, I definitely think we could be better businessmen and do stuff that really does earn cash, but I'll always just consider the minis. Like, I wake up every day and I think, how can I paint better today? Or what bit? Oh, I'm annoyed about that bit. I need to change that. That's what I'm thinking about, not, or how can I optimize my views on YouTube and blah, blah, blah.
Well, and that's the delicate balancing act as well, because I think people obviously could everyone be more ruthless in the business aspect? Yeah, probably. But then would people be as interested in, would people be as interested in coming back to a workshop if you weren't as caring, if you didn't put the effort in, if you weren't as wanting to help people? I still remember from MPO Bristol last year, I think you were the first person I saw when I walked in, and it is friendly, it's warm, it's like, yeah, this, and that was my first in-person show. First in-person
cool,
con, I was like, yeah, it was like, fuck, this is great. This is why I'm here almost. And unless you're willing to, if you were purely business, you'd probably have an event crew in front. You wouldn't be there with your little cocktail sticks or whatever they were, giving them out to people to put their minis on the tables. That, I do think that matters in this hobby more than people perhaps expect.
It does, and it's tiny. And I remember going to my first shows, and I love them. And I think people are scared of them, and I want people to start enjoying it, because it is really cool. If you like painting display minis, you just got to do these things. But we do talk business, and we talk, we're not doing this well, and I need to do better at that. And Henry and I have meetings, long chats about how to improve things like that. Because we do need to, now I need to pay the bills because it is my full-time job and stuff like that. But I think it always comes from a good place and a genuine place. And especially with things like the paints. And the paints have taken so long because I'm not really prepared to bring out paints unless I'm really happy with them. I think a big one for me with the paints was, okay, this is my favorite dark brown. Unless our dark brown is better than my favorite, I can't do it. You know how much I love painting purple. I've changed the purples 1 billion times. Which is why it's taken a long time. And I know we're gonna get flack when the paints come out, because people are fed up of paint ranges, right? And I get that, because there's a new paint range every week. But genuinely, I've tried hard, and I think when with things like the marketing, we're not going to be like, these are the best paints ever. Like, if you buy the paint, you will be more gooder. But I'm just, I paint some stuff with the reds, and I go, hey, here's the reds. And I just want to let them speak for themselves, really. And we're going to have to do a lot of education around the paints, because I think the painting market at the moment is really focused on speed. Speed paints, mega quick paints, paint your miniatures in 10 seconds. Whereas I'm like
coverage.
Yeah, coverage. Well, the thing that you watch review, the coverage is good. The coverage is good. Coverage. Well, I don't care about coverage. I mean, I do, but I care about the end result. And it's like the color's the most important thing. People ask, how do you do the purple on the Glutos trousers? And it's like, I used this paint. The coverage isn't as good as this gray from another company, because it is a purple, but it's actually a grey. So what do you want? Do you want it to look good, or do you want it to, two layers. But if you do 3 layers, it will look amazing, that kind of thing. So, yeah, back to the business stuff. I think all comes from a genuine place. And there's been moments I've had my self-doubts about the paints and stuff, because there are a lot of paints out there. But then I've been using the oranges for Fuegan this week, and I haven't used the oranges extensively in the range because, I've had the range for a long time, and I use some of them all the time. Like I've got through pots of the dark brown and stuff because I use it on every miniature. But there's things that, I never paint orange. I don't feel like I've used our oranges enough. And I'm really surprised how good they are, which is cool. But I have that AK deep orange. Do you know this paint?
Yeah.
It's excellent, right?
Yeah.
It's really, really good paint. And I thought, man, are we going to be able to beat this? This is so good. And it's slightly different, but I'm using it instead of a deep orange now. I started off with a deep orange because I knew it was good, and I was like, I should use my own paint, but will it be as good? And actually, I'm like, I prefer it because it has these properties. It's smoother, not as grainy, which is really cool because I think that's actually what people want. I know that's what you guys want your minis to look like, right? No grainy and smooth and stuff like that. So, yeah, has that answered your question? I don't know.
No, I mean, it's a very broad question, which is like, hey, this is now business for you. What do you have thoughts? It's like, turns out you do. When are those goddamn paints coming out? Because that's what I'm going to get shit about if I don't ask.
All right, so yes, as of filming, yesterday I signed off changes to a lot of them. So all the paints were great, but there was a few I thought could be better. And yesterday we changed 10 paints, and I'm talking tweaks. More chroma, so richer colors, because the balance with the paints is the performance versus the tone. So you take the purples, right, and you get your raw magenta pigment, and you when you make a paint range, you have to come up with a base, which is like the chemical formula, and you can't really change that across the different paints. Otherwise, it's too expensive, because when you're getting the factory to produce them, we've got a base which is only ours. So it's a custom base. We did blind testing, and we were like, that one. And they're like, yeah, that's the most expensive one to make. We're like, well, there you go. It must be worth it. It must be worth it. So once you've done that, then you're down to the mixing, right? Because you can't change the base really. But we started off with, like, say, pure magenta, and it's a nice tone, but it's so watery. So then you're going, okay, what do we compromise? Because you can put a little bit of white in, but that makes it pastel. You put some black in, and it darkens it down. You can put some maroon, some darker reds in, and that's the process. And that's why the paints have taken so long, because we're always trying to find a balance between, things like coverage and the tone. And I think a lot of brands have prioritized coverage. But we've gained confidence that going, no, we should prioritize tone. And it just takes a tiny bit of education, which is fine because we produce videos every day. We'll produce loads of videos. It's kind of like, this paint you need 2 coats. Maybe with ours you need 3, but actually probably just 2 the same. But the color is going to be a lot better and stuff like that. So it's just been balancing that. But you have to go over that with every paint. And it takes forever. But yesterday, we did sign off. I think there's 1 paint left to sign off at the whole range. We're good to go, and we've got all the aesthetics done and everything like that. So it's really close now. But the reason it's taken so long is because it's been finished, and now I've changed it all. So,
Bastard.
But I also feel like, it's just me, Henry, and Byron basically doing the project. And like, I'm going to get the range out. And if there's one of the paints that sucks, and I read comments and everyone's like, this green's crap, I'll change it straight away. I'll drive to the factory, and I go, I'll get it done. And I hope that we can be like that with the paint range. Like, I'm pretty happy with all the colors, but I'm sure that it's kind of like the rules, like they write the rules for 40K, they rules test it, but then the community finds something like, this is absolutely broken. So I'm like, I think this is a good color, but then I don't know what will happen. It might turn to black overnight or something.
Driving up the motorway back to the factory constantly.
Reactivating.
But yeah, I think as well that everything takes a long time because it is, it's me and Henry run Cult of Paint, and then now we have Ben who runs the commissions, and we have some other people that really work hard. And Matt is part of Cult of Paint; he does incredible work for the MPO and Golden Demon Compendium. So we have like the family and stuff, but really it's me and Henry, and we had a call before this trying to figure out how we're going to get all the stuff we need to do done. I was like, I don't know if I'm going to get a tutorial done because I've got to do this, and this, So it's always those kind of things, but it's always enjoyable. I think somebody who doesn't do the hobby, who I met at the weekend, was like, what do you do? And I was like, I do this weird job. And we talked about it. They were interested, and I kind of described it as there's loads to do. Or I have an endless amount of work, but none of it is horrible. And that's what's cool. And I'm pretty happy working 12 hours a day because none of it's that bad. Like, I'm chatting to you guys now, and then I'll do some painting, and then I might have to do an email or something. Just the one. But I'll probably paint, edit some videos. None of it's bad and horrible, really. Editing videos is difficult.
Yes, Bruce, that is horrible, right?
Do you do that, Magnus, or do you leave it to Bruce for all the editing?
Yeah, I leave it to Bruce all of it.
You lucky? You appreciate him,
I really do.
That's good footage. You got to cut it together.
So do you just record and then you don't do any editing? And you need to buy this guy some serious gifts. That's nice.
Yeah, I couldn't do it without. Genuinely.
Well, we said maybe next year for April 1st, you'll do the editing, I'll do the recording, and we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. But yeah, that's tricky because that's not how my brain works, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a skill. Like, it's a big skill as well, like, to learn. I guess, would you say in the year of our Lord 2025 you'll get a set of paints out?
Paints should be out this summer for sure. I'm sure they're out this summer. I hope.
As of recording.
I hope at the MPO we have most of the range for people to try.
Ooh, nice.
But if they're not, it's 2 people. Please remember that. I think there's a great team of you now at Cult of Paint, but it is mainly just you and Henry, and please be nice to people.
Yeah. Airbrushes as well. We've got new airbrushes we really hope to be really soon. I hope they're at MPO as well. New figures. There's tons we're always trying to get out, but
24 days to MPO just.
Is it? Yeah. I'm loving it because I'm not entering, right? So it's like, cool.
Mm-hmm. Well, I guess like that good bridge then to kind of final question. I am mindful of time, but it would be churlish not to talk about MPO because it is obviously like you are there, you're a judge, obviously. That's a big change in like your role competition painting. But there's also, I would say, speaking to community, there's this understanding that the MPO has an element of prestige. It's understood as hard to get to the higher tier medals. Is that like, how have you found that process? Number one, in building a brand of a competition, and then like switching it from online to open, running both parallel, and then how have you found it moving to judging as something that you've had to develop almost?
Yeah, I feel I don't have imposter syndrome about judging anymore because I am experienced. I've done it. I've been to every show, and that's really important that you see the different types of minis, because if you've only done Golden Demon, you don't understand the other shows, and that's not in a patronizing way, but there's other things they look for in that, and I like to think I'm reasonably well-rounded because I've been to military modeling shows as well, and I'm interested in historical and boring tanks, and I love all that stuff too.
They're not boring.
Yeah.
Tanks are cool.
Honestly,
tanks are cool.
I am desperate to paint a tank, and I've got it in my cupboard as well. I'm desperate, but I just can't fit it in the schedule. But I really want to do a Deathcore of Craig, as the Americans say, diorama. But anyway, judging. I like judging a lot. Take a lot of pride and care of it. I've just written the like the briefing for the judges. So it's about the ethos of the MPO. And the thing is, they don't need to see it. I think I've picked the best judges possible. I'm really proud of the judging team. We've got Albert Moreto Font, Richard Gray, Arnel Lazaro, Dave Infernal Brush, and Jamie, who just won the Squidmar show. And I love the team, and they don't need a briefing. They can do it. But I've done the briefing because I want it to be public. And it's kind of like, this is the criteria, but this is what the judges think, So it's kind of like a letter to the judges, but it will be available hopefully in the next week or so. But it's about the ethos of the show and what we're trying to do. And there's a few sentences in there that are really important to me and I think important to the show. Just stuff like, this isn't about the judges, this is about the competitors, and look for the merits in figures. Don't hunt for faults. Look at there's a few things in there that are really important to me about miniature painting, and I'll make sure everyone agrees with it and everything like that. But it was interesting just writing that, because it's like, okay, what's judging? And the first thing I thought of is, this is subjective. How do you judge it? And it's, well, you can, but you really have to have the expertise. You have to have the eye. You have to have the understanding of the scene. You have to be in the scene as well. I think you can't have been a painter 15 years ago and then come and judge. You've got to be involved. And there's really weird stuff about judging painting competitions, like knowing if it's sculpted. And you kind of have to be in the mix to know, because if you're going to merit that, if you're going to say, hey, if you've converted something that's extra points or whatever, well, you have to know. If you don't know the figures and you don't know how they look like to begin with, you might not see it's converted and whatever, but it depends if that's a factor. You might just be looking at the painting, depending on your show. For us, it probably is a factor, So I think that, I think you've just got to be really involved and have a knowledge and an understanding. And I think I changed the wording because I did something like have no bias, and I realized that's not possible. So that's worded incorrectly. So I said, try to judge with as little bias as possible, because that's the truth.
Yeah.
So I hope to be as honest and open with the judging and whatever. And just really, really try our best. When I judged Monty, I learned a lot about ethos. And Francesco Farabi did a talk to the judges, and I love that man so much. He's just amazing. He really hit a chord with me, and I didn't rehash anything he said, because it's his words, not mine. But there's a few things that are exactly aligned with my ethos too. And I've put them in my own words and stuff like that. But I learned a lot from that, and the responsibility and things like that. I think I put, you got to put yourself in the shoes of the painters sometimes. It's really easy. This was something Francesco said that I haven't put in the briefing. But one of my favorite things in the Monty briefing is, you're not the main character. And I thought that was so like cutthroat. Like, it's not about you. It's about the figures and stuff like that. And the balance is the generosity and the making the show feel rewarding. And I helped judge at Nova, and I don't know why they gave me a microphone, but I sort of couldn't think of much to say. But I basically said, if you don't win, remember that it's supposed to be hard. So when you do, it's got to feel good, because if you're given an award for nothing, it just doesn't feel good. I've got friends, so they won't mind me saying, but they've won Golden Demons where there's been 5 things in the category, and they're like, I don't feel good. I'm a Golden Demon winner, and I feel like ass. And that's like, your piece was good and stuff like that. And I think about the diorama I just did, and don't want to put like anyone down or things like that, but I think the diorama category at Adepticon was not as competitive as Spiel, and the Spiel diorama category was amazing. And I won for the horse and stuff, but it just doesn't matter. The piece speaks for itself, right? So you always have to think about those things. But I lost my train of thought there. Anyway, finding the balance, right, of the difficulty level and the generosity is the hardest part, especially in standard, because the point of a show is to encourage and motivate and show. That's the only point in the show. It's not to whip people down and say you suck. It's to have a good time in the community, but the rewards do need to be hard to earn. I want a gold in Master at MPO to be difficult, and there's a big debate. Open, that's easy. Golden Demon's hard. There's only 3 awards. Open's easy. There's unlimited awards, but there's not unlimited awards.
No.
I think Golden Demon is hard. It's very, very hard competition to win. I don't know how many categories are there, 11 or 12?
14, I think.
Okay, so
It's
there's
a huge number.
There's 14 golds going out no matter what, right? 14 golds.
No.
Yeah.
And there's the same amount of golds going out no matter what, right? Where there's one year I won at Monty, there was just 4 golds. Just 4.
Yeah.
So, you can't say that. So I think maybe year 1, maybe because we were new, I think we could have been a little more generous. I don't know. But it's how we felt at the time. And you just have to do your best. You just have to rely on your teammates. And that's the part I enjoy the most about judging, is the discussion. And you don't argue, but it's nice to be a devil's advocate and go, say one guy says it's a gold and one guy says it's a bronze. The enjoyable part is going, okay, well, why is it a gold? And they go, well, they've done this and this. And you go, oh, I didn't realize that. You have to be ready to have your mind changed, which is another thing I put, is listen to your teammates, be prepared to change your mind, and then you'll have a better time. And when I judged Monty, it was with Steve Garcia and Fabrizio Russo, who's very experienced at judging Monty. So I loved talking to him about stuff, and getting, Fabrizio's judged. He won Monty Best of Show like 11 years ago, something crazy. He's been to every one. He's the veteran. I'm the new guy, right? So I'm like, hey, this is my opinion. What do you think? And he's like, yeah, I agree. And then you're like, okay, cool. And that's what's nice about judging, is discussing things with your peers. And through discussion, you get to the right places. And that's what's nice. But this year, we've got way more judges, and I'm looking forward to kind of coordinating those teams and things like that. So I won't be judging Master, unfortunately. I will be standard only. But I think that I'd like those guys to just focus on Master and not have to do a ton of stuff. So we'll be split into 2 teams, and I think
you, Rich, and Albert did everything.
Correct.
Last year, yeah.
Correct. So we'll probably post what teams are doing what, but I'll get 3 people to do Master and 3 on standard. And I'm also going to probably have more judges for vehicles and stuff, have a separate judging team that are passionate about vehicles. I'm very confident judging vehicles, but I think it'll be better with more. And yeah, I've got so much faith in those guys. And I feel really, when we posted the judges, I felt really proud of that. And I don't get too proud of much. I'm a bit like, but I thought, man, I've managed to cobble these people together, kind of the dream team. And Arnau especially, Arnau won Best of Show in the MPO, and then he won the online one. And I was I went, dude, you got to judge. Sorry, mate. Yeah. I think he said, I had a really big piece planned. I was like, sorry, dude.
Not anymore, you don't.
but I did that because I hope the community get a kick out of that. I hope they're like, that's cool. Like, he absolutely smashed it. I loved the piece he brought. That was really amazing to have that as the Best of Show. I was proud of that too. I didn't paint it, but I was proud that that piece was there and that you're bringing that caliber of piece. That was really, really nice. So yeah, I can't wait to see what gets Best of Show this time. We've got cool prizes, bigger venue, and I hope that we can just keep improving this event. And last year was so scary being the first one. So we come into this one with a lot more confidence, but also it's double the size. The venue's
which
epic.
Is not double the work, it's quadruple the work.
Something like that. Well, Matt's physically building the shelves, right?
Oh, he's back on it.
He sent me a video. He's painting the shelves that all the miniatures go on. And I'm like, I hope you get that paint dry in time, mate. But
I think it goes to show, and before we get erratas in the comments, there were 16 categories at Adepticon, one of which is Youngblood. So
16,
there are 15. Yeah.
16 golds then.
But with all, I think there's sometimes an outsider perspective on things like competition of like, oh, no one thinks about this stuff, or it's just thrown together, or why didn't they do X, Y, and Z? And it's just because you're not privy to all those conversations. There is a shitload of thought that goes into so much of this, and if the critique, because it's very easy to throw criticisms as someone that throws a mini in. Certainly when it's not on an online comp, and it's almost like a 5-second job. But I guarantee there has been a shitload of discussions that you've not heard that have led to the outcomes, the judging, and it's sometimes a bit of a frustration, I think, which is just, oh yeah, they just throw this together because they don't care. It's like, no, they run this because they care. There's no other way around this, I don't think.
Oh man, the every sentence in the judging criteria is like, yeah, I'm talking about the thing I'm most passionate about, and kind of it's so personal because it's like, this is what I think that judging should be. I'm not going, hey, you pick up the model and you rate the base 1 to 10 and you rate the edge highlights 1 to 10. That is not how I would judge, I think someone said to me once, oh, well, first thing I do when I judge is I turn it upside down to see if they've painted underneath the feet. And I was like, dude, I think that is the worst way of judging I've ever heard. And that is so against my personal ethos of judging. I don't agree with you. I can discuss it. I'm not, but like, why would you do that? So this, doing these things, Henry and Matt do a lot of the boring stuff, right? Getting the tickets on the website. I can't make a website work. Can barely use one.
Andy, I work in events. This is my job.
Yeah.
All the boring
stuff. Yeah.
I can't do it, but I'm responsible for organising the judging team, running the show, doing that, and writing that, I feel like I'm really putting my heart on the sleeve, about this is what I think about judging. So hopefully I don't get ripped into too much, but there is a lot of work that goes into it. The Matt built a system from scratch to do the judging, right? Like a program.
Yeah, that thing's nuts.
So we have the codes of the minis. We type it in, and it comes up with a photo of the mini, and it's really clear. And we can look back on it as well and look what we've given gold. Is brilliant. And Matt did that. We didn't download that from the App Store or whatever. Like he did that just to make sure the judging was good and seamless and mistakes weren't there. And that's so cool. And that's the level of effort. You're writing a program from scratch, and you can only do that if you've got someone like Matt who puts that work in.
Unsung MVP Matt behind the scenes is long been my stance.
Well, and Henry is he's a Golden Demon winner, and he doesn't enter competitions like all the time like I do, but he really cares, and he's putting tons of effort getting. We've got people like Mark Gibbons doing the artwork, which is absolutely epic, and he's doing stuff like that, and he's going to the venue and making sure it's all slick and sorting everything out. Getting the deal with the daylight company, so we've got the best lighting, which is very, very important because I don't think the show could afford 30 daylights or whatever. But you saw it last year, Bruce, and it made it
spectacular.
Great. It made it great. So I did love that little venue. I thought it was cute with the light bulbs.
As a first venue and it was brilliant because it almost encouraged people to chat. It was like quite a compressed area, but it was, hey, let's just talk around these minis. That's what you have to do.
I was going to say that actually is like, we're talking about what activity should we have on, like a ball pit or darts or something. But really, it's about chatting. Unfortunately,
chat about minis.
Yeah. It's when people meet up for coffee and a chat, it's that. But some minis is what I want. But we got some seminars from some cool people, and I'd like to grow the show and have more stuff like that. Painting demos from legends. I'd love to fly someone like Mark Masclans over to do some demos and judge and do that when we got the budget. And that's the other thing. We did the mini for the show, and that's just to get some cash in to pay Mark Gibbons. Right, it's based off of Mark Gibbons' art, and we think it's really cool to have someone who's so important an artist like that in the community. We want to have cool things like that. Don't skimp out on things. And little things like the ticket price, right? Deciding that it's, like, oh, is it too expensive? But it's expensive to run.
Yes, very expensive to run.
And I think from my point of view, it's like I'll kind of pay, not whatever, there's a limit, but I'll pay a decent price because I want to go to this show, and it doesn't matter if there's not all this stuff. This is such a niche thing, and if you have to pay a decent amount to make it work, just to pay the venue.
I mean, some of us travel, right, just to get there. Like the ticket price is not going to be the decider anyways for us.
I never would have imagined flying all the way, I don't know about you guys, but flying all the way to America for a mini comp when I started. I never would imagine I could be asked with that. But it's because it was both your guys' first time at Adepticon, right?
Yeah.
And what do you think about the value in going? Is it worth it and all this stuff?
Yeah. We went straight home and rebooked.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's the best time, right?
It is. And it's a good reminder of like why you love the hobby. Or it certainly is for me. It's like, fuck. All these conversations I've had, all the pieces I get to hold in hand. Yeah, like you cannot put a price on that. If you're passionate about this hobby, you can't. Like,
yeah.
If it's like, oh, well, the ticket's 20 quid, I might not go. I'd probably question like why you even thought of going in the first place, kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very nice feeling for us to sell out. It's like we've hit the maximum amount of people, and we're, to get a bigger venue will be tricky. We really want to try and stay in this venue for a while now, so we can, expand it a bit next year and stuff like that. But yeah, I think that's a really cool feeling for us, actually selling out the show. Because when we started, we were like, will anyone come?
Yeah.
But I hope
someone wanted.
That's it. But I hope it's sold out because people have faith in us because of all the other things we've done. We're, like I said before about being a business, it's all very genuine. We're in the hobby. We're doing the hobby. We're doing it every day, and we do gaming stuff as well. I used to do tournaments back in the day, all that. So we're just very much in there, and when we did the podcast, we were always talking about every competition as well. So I hope that faith's come from that, from us caring, basically.
Yeah, I think it'd be a weird person who's like, yeah, those cold paint guys, they're not into the hobby. They're in it for the money, those bastards.
I just changed my profile, actually, because I thought I was a bit lame, but I thought it was funny at the time. But I think my tagline was like, it's like Andy Wardle, paint Warhammer, painting whatever, and I was in it for the girls and the money I had there for ages.
Hell yeah.
And I was like, maybe someone will think this is serious. I'll get rid of that now.
Yeah.
But when I set it up in 2014, I thought it was hilarious. But yeah, it is true, right? It's the wrong one for that. But it's very, very nice. And I've met some of the best people doing it. So whatever, really.
Right, we've gone way long. I said an hour. I lied to you. I'm very sorry.
I'll talk forever.
Hey, it's been a great chat. If people out there, thank you for watching and listening. Obviously, get yourself to the Cult of Paint Patreon now. It's patreon.com/Cult of Paint, all one word. Hopefully, Andy, you've sold the passion I think that you and the team bring to it, and I think that's well worth of support. As I say, Mags and I have been patrons for pretty much all my time in the hobby. I always think there's good videos, good stuff, and it's also just to support you guys with what you're doing. There's obviously yourself on Instagram, Andy Wardle _artwork. I
didn't know what it was.
So. Oh, okay, I did my research. You've done your good research. That's good. And then Cult of Paint Instagram, which is /Cult of Paint. I mean, obviously you mentioned obviously the workshops. They tend to be published on the website, isn't it? Which is cultofpaint.co.uk.
The Cult of Paint Instagram, and we will be doing a lot more workshops soon. We've just been doing other bits, but there will be.
Just got paint arranged to launch. Easy stuff. Awesome. Well, I think, is there anything else you'd like to plug, Andy? Sorry, I just talked over you for a bit there.
No, just if I'm selling something, buy it, please.
Please.
I don't know what I'm going to sell, but in the future, I'll probably want to sell something, and please buy that.
I'll just keep updating the links on the podcast. It'll be fine. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time. If you're watching, if you're listening, thank you so much. And until next time, paint something beautiful. Goodbye.